Most AI models guess the next word, but Google Gemini Diffusion does something different. It edits noise into meaning, and that could be the next big thing. Now, the thing that's interesting about Gemini is that it flips how language models work. Instead of predicting words one by one, it refines noise to generate entire sections of text at once. And that means faster, more coherent responses. In fact, it clocks in at close to 1,500 tokens per second. If you take a look at how fast some of the most popular models work, you can see that the fastest Gemini 2.5 Flash is right now running at 331 tokens per second. So 1,500 tokens is lightning fast. To show you the difference in speed, I'm going to run one of these sample prompts in Diffusion, then I'll use 2.5 Pro to compare it, as well as ChatGPT 4o. This particular prompt is going to require some translation. And that means I can't use Gemini Flash, which would be a more comparable model in terms of speed, but it wouldn't be even close. The prompt is going to be explain the merits of toast in the style of Hegel, then translate the essay into 10 other languages. And before we run it in Diffusion, I'm going to copy that prompt and put it on ChatGPT 4o. So I'm going to go ahead and send that. And I'll also run it on Gemini Flash, and then I'm going to run it in Diffusion. You'll see just how fast Diffusion is. You can see that Gemini is still thinking about it, and it looks like Diffusion is already done with all that text while Gemini is getting started. If we take a look at ChatGPT, it's being particularly slow. It could have run a faster model, but ultimately it doesn't matter. You can see the clear difference in speed. Even though ChatGPT 4o is a lot stingier with much shorter responses, it's still a lot slower. Diffusion can also self-correct during generation, which is going to help with tasks like editing, math, and code. So let me show you some other tasks, and we'll see how it does. I'm going to try something more challenging. We'll go ahead and put in a much more complex prompt, which is a prompt that I use to generate images for Midjourney. And once again, I'm going to try it out in Gemini as well as in ChatGPT. Looks like ChatGPT finally finished. And then we'll run this prompt, and it's going to ask us for a simple description. I'm going to type in a Boston Terrier playing sports at the beach. And I'll copy that prompt, put it into Google Gemini. Once I run it, I'll go ahead and start Gemini Diffusion as well. I'll give it the prompt, and you can see that it's done almost immediately. But there are some problems with these results. Let's go ahead and add the prompt here, and we'll hit return, and I'll go ahead and run the prompt in ChatGPT as well. Looks like ChatGPT is already done with this prompt, and it did a pretty decent job. It's supposed to take that simple original prompt and convert it to detailed instructions that Midjourney can use to generate images. Another thing that it's supposed to do is at the end of each description, it's supposed to add a comma like this so that each description is on a separate entry inside these curly braces. When I go to Midjourney, I can paste that description, and it's going to generate 5 images. So if I click on this, you'll notice that I'll get 5 image generations. Usually you just get a single image generation, and it'll start to complete them and give me 20 different images instead of 4. And sometimes I just want to create a lot of images. That's what that prompt is for. So if we take a look at ChatGPT, pretty decent job. It is also supposed to cut off the text a little bit so that I can read more of the prompt. So the fact that this text wasn't quite cut properly isn't as good as it should be. You can see that Diffusion here did pretty well. It doesn't have some of the fancy features. So for example, I can't just copy this text, and it was able to create each of the descriptions, but it did a couple of things that I told it not to do. One is that it's not supposed to put commas in the middle of a description. That's what creates the separations between the prompts. And it wasn't able to do that. Other than that, the prompt is really good. But what happened is if I tried to copy this, it would generate images like the other one, but it might get confused about the commas. So if I send this, I may get a few prompts. Looks like I got 7 prompts because of all the commas, but they're not going to make a lot of sense, or they're not going to be as good as the other one. Actually did a pretty good job, but this one doesn't make any sense, as you can see. Some of these were not even generated. It just created 3 of them. Not perfect. Gemini is going to do a pretty decent job. Notice that it actually formatted things properly. It gives me the nice interface here where I can copy the code, which is perfect. And let's just grab it from here and we'll paste it and try to send it. And you should get 5 generations. You might see some of the other ones that it couldn't finish before still showing up. And that's why the number here isn't 5, but it is doing 5 generations. They're looking pretty good. Both ChatGPT and Gemini were able to do this correctly, whereas Diffusion isn't quite yet up to par. It does make some mistakes. Let's try a coding prompt. Usually what I ask these models to do is to create me a Tetris game. I'll just say create a Tetris game, hit return. And you can see that way faster than anything else. Let's go ahead and hit start game here, see if we get anything. And it looks like I get a pretty playable Tetris game just from a single prompt. Looks like it doesn't quite get the bottom part of this code right. Last time I tried it, it worked pretty well. I'll just try to correct it. Just say it looks like the blocks aren't stopping at the bottom. So we'll hit start game, and we'll play this game. It's not supposed to go farther than the edge. We'll see if it stops at the bottom. So it looks like it's not quite getting this game right. Let's give it another chance. Lightning fast once again. Let's see if it gets it right. It doesn't make me have to start playing. It does end at the bottom. It does respect both sides. Right now, it's say the score isn't quite working, and this block is a little bit weird. Not sure that's a legal block, and I'm not sure what it will do with the rest of it, but not a horrible version of this game. It looks like I got it mostly correct. So not perfect, but it did a pretty decent job. And I do like that it's showing me the sort of code and preview mode here. That is a nice interface. If I were to compare this to other tools, something like Bolt would make probably a way prettier game than this. So there's one more feature here that I want to show you, and that is this Instantedit tool. You can ask it to take some existing content, and you can paste the content here and edit it in real time or close to real time with a prompt down here. So if I look at, say, extend a story, notice that it brings in a story, and then it gives you a prompt to add another paragraph. So we'll hit that, and it happens almost immediately. Let's add headlines to each paragraph. Then it does it pretty well. I'll say add a second paragraph to each section, include a horizontal rule as well. And you can see that it's doing that pretty well, adding everything correctly. So it's not perfect, but it is pretty great. To get to it, you're going to sign up for a waiting list, and it's going to take a little bit to get access to it. I think the fact that we're seeing Google investigate this particular model means a whole lot. And I'm pretty impressed with what it's able to do so far.